We're back learning more arpeggio stuff today. And in the first couple of videos, what we learned was we learned the major shapes across the neck, and we learned the minor shapes across the neck, and we did both those shapes just on the high E, B, and G string only. In the third video, we took those shapes and we learned how to play them to a backing track. So the backing track had some chords, and we learned how to play the arpeggios with the corresponding chord. But we were just doing the arpeggio only. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take scale notes from the key that we're playing, and we're going to add them to the arpeggios to expand upon those arpeggios to make them sound more like music, more melodic. Okay, but before we do that, we have to learn some stuff. We have to learn an A minor natural scale. So why don't we do that right now? Let's learn an A minor natural scale if you don't know it already. So we're playing an A minor natural scale in 5th position. That just means that my index finger is going to be on 5, and then my other fingers are assigned to 6, 7, and 8. Okay, but we are going to be switching positions through the scale. So here's how the scale works. So that's an A minor natural scale. So learn it, memorize it, because you are going to need it in order to work with this lesson. Because we're going to be taking those notes and combining it with the arpeggios. So in the last video, we did arpeggios in 3 different areas. We did arpeggios in this area of the neck, and then in this area, and then finally all the way up to here. For this video, we're only going to be working with position number 5. Okay, so we'll do the arpeggios that are going to land between 5 and 8 only. In the next video, we'll work with the next pattern, and then finally we'll move up one more pattern. Okay, so here's a quick demo of what I'm talking about. After we look at the demo, I'm going to break it down for you, and I'll teach it to you note by note. Here we go. Okay, so let's break down what I just played in the video. The first arpeggio that I use is an A minor arpeggio, and I play 2 riffs back to back. Riff number 1, and then riff number 2. Riff number 1 starts off with the A minor arpeggio, and it's C, E, and A, and then I hit a B note. The B note is not part of the A minor arpeggio, but it is from the A minor natural scale. And just by adding it, it makes the arpeggio riff far more interesting. For the second one, I start off with the B note, I bend it a half step, which gives me actually a C note, which is part of the arpeggio. I release it down the B, and then I walk partway down the arpeggio, I hit A, and then E. The entire time, the backing track is still on A minor. Next, the backing track changes to F, and then I play this riff. Or these 2 riffs. So the first part of the riff, I don't go too heavy on the arpeggio. I start off with a note in the scale, I hammer onto an arpeggio note, and I go back. But the note that we hear the most is the note from the scale and not part of the F major arpeggio. And then I play a direct arpeggio with no scale notes. So there's a lot of ways to approach this. Sometimes it's arpeggio and then scale note. And then other times you can start with scale notes and then arpeggios. You're gonna have to test some things out. So the next part, it changes to D minor. For the D minor section, I play this riff here. So I start off with a scale note, a C note, not part of the D minor arpeggio. I hammer on. This is a D note, and then I walk up the D minor arpeggio. and then I hit another scale note C at the end. So there's definitely a lot of D minor arpeggio here, but I start with a scale note and I end with a scale note. The next phrase, it does something similar but backwards. And I kind of hang out in the middle of this D minor arpeggio. And I finish on this F note here. So there's only one outside note here. And by the way, that bend I'm doing is a quarter bend. A quarter bend doesn't give you any other note. It just gives the note a bit of character, changes the pitch slightly, but not enough to give us a different note. So. And then the backing track goes to G major. And for the G major, since I finished here on this F note for my last D minor riff, I take it and I slide. And that's my first G major riff. So getting into the G note, that's a G note I'm landing on, hitting another arpeggio note from the G, going back to the G, and by the way, here's the arpeggio that I'm taking the notes from. So in this case, I'm only hitting 2 notes from the arpeggio. And the next riff. So a hammer-on pull-off from 7 to 8. 7 is part of the arpeggio, but 8 is not. That's a C note. And then ending on a G note. And then finally sliding down and landing back on A minor for the second part of the progression.